Okay, guys. Hi. I'm going to give this thing a whirl. This swivel camera. I can move it back and forth. I can move it around. It can follow me here and there. I don't know. We'll see. I'm at home. I want to talk to you about the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868. It was part of the three amendments that hovered around the Civil War. In 1865, the end to slavery was ratified, the 13th Amendment. In 1868, it's called the Citizenship Amendment. And we're going to go into a lot of detail later on the need for it and why it is such an influential amendment to the Constitution, and why I start the study of our government class with the 14th Amendment, and why I want you to know so much about the 14th Amendment. 1870, the 15th Amendment was ratified. That forbid any state from denying the right to vote based on color. So you had 1865 was the end of slavery. 1868 was the Citizenship Amendment that forbid a state to treat an individual differently in regards to the law based on the color of his skin. And the 15th Amendment dealt with voting rights. These were big three. These were three huge amendments. So let me talk to you a little bit. I'm going to read you the amendment first off. And you're going to need to know this thing. The 14th Amendment, Section 1. We only need to know Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law that shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction equal protection of the law. Due process and equal protection of the law. These are huge. These are words that were chosen specifically for this amendment. When you write an amendment, you're not vague on the words. The words are direct. The words are significant. The words mean exactly what they say. And so due process and equal protection are vital when we discuss the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. So let's take it. In the 14th Amendment, Section 1 has 4 parts. You're going to need to memorize this. You're going to need to thoroughly understand these 4 parts. And we will go over these 4 parts of Section 1. And I think that what it will do is will illuminate for you the impact that this amendment still has today. Currently, right now, as we speak, the 14th Amendment is alive and well and shaping public policy throughout the United States. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. Part 1. All persons born or naturalized. Well, what does that mean? It means if you're born in the United States, you're a citizen of the United States. That's called birthright citizenship. If you have a baby within the borders of the United States, that baby is a citizen. The President of the United States has been adamant that he would like to end birthright citizenship in the United States. He can't end it. A president can't deny a constitutional amendment. But he has been adamant that he would like to deny birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship is prevalent in many countries in the world. Canada has birthright citizenship. And so I guess what that means is that I don't know if a foreign exchange student is over here at Oak Ridge and that foreign exchange student gets pregnant, and that foreign exchange student, if she's from Germany or Finland or Mongolia or Japan, and that foreign exchange student would have a baby, that baby would be a citizen of the United States no matter what. Second way is if you're naturalized. The naturalization process to become a citizen is whereby you go through a series of hoops in which you apply to become a citizen in the United States, and you go through background checks, you go through an enormous amount of checking and testing, and then you finally do, after a certain amount of time, you get a green card, and a green card is like a temporary citizenship card, and eventually you work your way through the citizenship ladder. It's controversial in some ways because wealthy people are able to skirt the system. Corporations are able to bring people in that might not otherwise become citizens. There is the idea of asylum when you are running for your life in a foreign country and you apply for U.S. citizenship under asylum laws. That has been curtailed under the Trump administration and is a controversial issue, or was a controversial issue earlier in his administration. So there's two ways to become a citizen. You're born or you're naturalized. And you're subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Jurisdiction is you're subject to the laws thereof. Why they did this is because if you are an ambassador if you're an ambassador of a foreign country and you live in the United States, you're technically on your home country's property. You're under the jurisdiction of that home country. So if you go to close-up, we will be in DuPont Circle, and you'll see all of these embassies all around DuPont Circle. So you'll see the Russian embassy. And the Russian embassy will have a Russian flag. And you'll see the Polish embassy, and the Polish embassy will have a Polish flag. You'll see the Argentinian embassy, and it'll have an Argentinian flag. Well, if you work in that embassy, if you are an ambassador in that embassy, you are subject to the laws of that country. And so you are technically within the jurisdiction of that country. If I step into the Argentinian embassy, and there's only one day a year in which a non-Argentinian can go into the Argentinian embassy, and usually we're at close-up when they do it. It's like they open the doors of the embassies for one day. You're technically on Argentinian territory. You're under the laws of Argentina. And so if that is the case, then you aren't subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So if you had a child, that child would not be automatically a citizen of the United States. So all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, so you're subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, are citizens of the United States in the state wherein they reside. Let me make one more thing here, just to put a big picture on it. Let's say that an alien spaceship hovered over the Oak Ridge football field, and let's say that the band marched out onto the field. This isn't COVID times. And the football team didn't have masks, and the parents were in the stands, and the cheerleaders were rocking, and the place was smoking. And all of a sudden, this spaceship drops onto the eagle's beak. and the door opens, and a carpet comes down onto the nose of the eagle, the beak of the eagle, and out walks a three-headed alien onto the football field, and promptly, boom, has 14 babies. Those 14 babies are citizens of the United States and citizens of the state wherein they reside. So if the babies and the alien became, residents of Oak Ridge, and the babies went to Oak Ridge Elementary School and such, they would be residents in Michigan, and they would be a citizen of Michigan and a citizen of the United States. Usually, citizenship in a state is determined by how long you've lived there. Usually it takes 6 months to a year to become a citizen of a state. It's usually determined by driver's license or voter registration, some kind of, some kind of an official state-sanctioned document. So you can't be a citizen of two states at one time, even if you live in two states at one time. And it isn't the state that you are in. So like if I drive to California, I'm not, as I drive through Illinois and Minnesota and Wisconsin and North Dakota, I'm not a citizen of that state as I drive through that country, through that state to California. I am a citizen of the state in which I reside. And so that would be the state of my driver's license. So part 1 of section 1, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. Boom. What we've done is we have directed what and who a citizen is. What are you a citizen of? Boom. That's the first part. Doesn't protect any rights, doesn't extend any rights or protect any civil liberties. What it does is it just says you are a citizen of Michigan, you are a citizen of the United States. Part 2. No state. Come on, why are you going over there? Come on back. There we go. No state. It's kind of turned sideways there. I don't know what's going on. I'm out of the middle. I'll move over. Okay, are we okay now? Okay, no, it wants to go over to that hand. For some reason, it wants to go over to that hand. Well, I guess we can let it go over to the hand. Oh, maybe I've got this. Oh, I know what I got to do. I got to bring this up higher. Let's bring this up higher. That's the problem. There. How's that? That's better. I didn't introduce you to my my painting from Rwanda. This was a Ugandan painter. It's pretty big. You can see it doesn't look so big. It's a pretty big painting, and it's a Tutsi. It's a Tutsi face. It was a Tutsi Ugandan. So this was a Ugandan artist that painted this Tutsi face, and I love that thing. It's just haunting. Boom, 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 boom. So that's what's behind me, looking over my shoulder there. Okay, number 2. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. So look, this amendment is saying that a state can't take away privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. A state can't take it away. A state can't take it away. So it doesn't protect you from the federal government, from Washington, D.C. It protects you from your home government in the state of Michigan, in the state of Minnesota, in the state of Indiana. No state can make any law that abridges the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. What it is doing, see, your privileges and immunities are laid out in the Bill of Rights. Amendment 1, Amendment 2, Amendment 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. The federal government can't take away your rights because the Bill of Rights says it can't. That is called incorporation. You incorporate the Bill of Rights into the state governments. Now, normally, see, you know what the Bill of Rights are. You see the Bill of Rights. You recognize the Bill of Rights. But those only are protections from Washington, D.C. Those are only protections from Donald Trump and from the U.S. Congress and from the FBI. They are not protections from the state government. The 14th Amendment, Part 2, incorporates the Bill of Rights into the state governments. What this one does is it says no state can make or enforce any law which abridges the privileges or immunities of citizens in the United States. So what I'm asking you right now is, what then does the 14th Amendment multiply the Bill of Rights by? Dun, 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Bink. 50. Why 50? Because it says no state can make or enforce any law which abridges the privileges or immunities of a citizen of the United States. How do you become a citizen of the United States? You're born or naturalized. Da-da. And so no state, according to the second part of Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, can take away those rights. The right of free speech, the right of religion, the right to bear arms, the quartering of soldiers, all of those amendments that are encapsulated, all of those civil liberties encapsulated in the Bill of Rights. Part 3 deals with due process. Due process of law. No, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. So again, what we're limiting is the power of the state, not the federal government. The citizens are protected from the federal government abuse of due process by Amendments 4, 5, and 6 of the Constitution. So all this does is it cuts and pastes it. It's special. It's due process. It's due process here. And look at the change. There's a huge change here. A huge change. We were talking about citizens in number 1. We were talking about citizens in number 2. Number 3, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process. What's due process? Due process is the whole ball of wax when the cops come to get you. Due process is being accused of a crime, being investigated for a crime, being arrested and read your rights and taken to jail and incarcerated and going through the trial process, bail, all of it. Due process, due process, due process. You have to be treated fairly by your government. Not just you, not just a citizen, but every person on the earth. Every walking, talking human being is afforded due process. If a foreign exchange student and an American student got into a fight in the high school parking lot, the police could not come in and just arrest the foreign exchange student and leave the American student to go home. The foreign exchange student has the same due process rights that any American citizen has. And the reason for this question, what does that tell you about due process? Dun, 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. It means that due process is a basic human right that is afforded to any person on the planet. Due process is essential. Otherwise, what happens? You get locked up in jail. They throw away the key. What happens in autocratic regimes? What happens in countries that have dictatorships where the rule of law is superseded by the rule of the military? People get locked up. They disappear in the penal system. They go to jail and they never hear from them again. That's a violation of due process. In the United States of America, no state can deny any person due process of the law. And then the last part, number 4, equal protection of the law. And persons again. Persons again. Equal protection of the law is the baby. It's the one. It's the civil rights movement. It's the reason that gay people are now allowed to marry. It's the reason why different colors of Americans have the same rights as white Americans. It is at the basis of so many challenges to the Supreme Court. It was the basis of Brown v. Board. It was the basis of the Gay Marriage Amendment, Hodges versus Obergefell. I think that someday, I with all my heart believe that this college cost mess that's going on in the United States, I think that it's a violation of equal protection for all persons in the state. And since the state is in charge of the cost of college, I think it discriminates against poor Americans. I really, 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 really do. I also think that a lack of health care is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. I do think that these issues will be resolved at some point because of the Equal Protection Clause. The right to die. Think about it. If you live in Oregon, if you live in Washington, you live in California, and you're terminal, you can, by law, go to a doctor. You can, by law, get a prescription to take when you are ready to end your life. You have to go through hoops. You have to be of sound mind. You have to have a terminal disease. But you can do that. You can't do that in Michigan. If you have ALS, you die. You go to the end. You go to the end. You go to the end. I think that's a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Think of this equal protection. Okay? You got a straight guy and you got a gay guy. Okay? The straight guy marries a woman. The gay guy is with another guy. They both live together. They both share a home. And the straight guy, he has a marriage license. This is prior to the changing of the law in 2016, maybe? No, I'm sorry. It was under Barack Obama. I think 2014. And yet the state of Michigan won't allow the gay man to marry his partner. Well, that's not equal protection of the law, not in the state of Michigan. That means that a married heterosexual couple have all of these rights that a gay couple don't have. Well, that violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. The Supreme Court decision, Hodges versus Obergefell, the court decides that the definition of marriage between two heterosexuals only is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. This Equal Protection Clause is pivotal, along with the Due Process Clause of the Black Lives Matter movement. What the Black Lives Matter movement says is, look, I'm a black person. I'm not being treated equally, due process. I'm not being protected equally, equal protection under the law, by the state government through the administration of the police force. It's a 14th Amendment issue. So the last part, I think sometimes too there's a lot of issues in schools that are 14th Amendment issues. You have rights, you know, you have rights. You don't lose, you don't give up all your frickin' rights just because you're a high school student. You have rights. They're not as, they're a little gray because you're in the school. They're not quite what mine are because I'm over 18, 10 years over 18. There are limitations on you, but not as many limitations as you may think. There's a lot of school rules, really. If you challenged them, you would win, but nobody challenges them. And so Paula Shea, in 2014, she was this little fireball. She said, okay, I'm going to graduate, you know, I'm going to go through graduation. And in graduation, the rule was that girls had to wear a dress underneath their cap and gown. They had to wear a dress. Guys had to wear black slacks. Girls had to wear a dress. And Paula Shea said, no, hell no, I'm not wearing a dress. I don't wear dresses. I'm going to wear white slacks. I want to wear white slacks. And she challenged the rule. And she went to the secretary, Mrs. Herline, who ran all of our punitive dress code rules. And she said, you can't graduate. Paula was, I think she was the salutatorian. She was smart. She went to Western Michigan on a full ride as an accountant. And she wasn't going to be able to graduate because she didn't want to wear a dress underneath her cap and gown. And so she went from Mrs. Herline into Mr. McVoy's office. And Mr. McVoy said, Paula, you got to wear it or you can't. And Paula said, no, I'm not going to do it. It's a violation of the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause. You're not protecting me equally as you're protecting boys. This is a double standard. You can't do this because it violates the Constitution of the United States of America. And so the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, she gets a hold of them. That is an institution of lawyers who fight for citizens' First Amendment rights. It was free expression. Actually, it was free expression. It was a First Amendment free expression right and a 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause right, because the 14th Amendment encompasses the First Amendment and draws it into Michigan, which draws it into Oak Ridge. So it's First and 14th. And she gets hold of the ACLU, and she says, and the ACLU says, we'll take it. We will defend you if you want to fight this. She calls WZZM. She says, I have a First Amendment and a 14th Amendment right to wear what I please under my graduation gown. She went into Mr. McVoy. She said, I'm going to bring in WZZM, the press, First Amendment. I'm going to bring in the ACLU, due process, equal protection, 4th and 5th and 6th Amendments, and the 14th Amendment. And I'm going to make this a big issue. If you want to fight this battle, we can fight this battle, baby. Mr. McVoy, back down. No, we don't want to fight this battle. You can wear white slacks underneath your cap and gown. That's because she's a person. It's because she's a person, and the 14th Amendment says to any person within you that nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property. Liberty, liberty, liberty. Without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction equal protection of the law. The state can't non-equally protect you because you're a girl. And so what the Equal Protection Clause has done throughout our history has brought all of these different peoples. Remember, this is person. The fourth part is person, the third part is person. All of these peoples together in the United States and provided them the equal protection that all, I would say, wealthy white American males have. Women have benefited from the Equal Protection Clause. Black people and Hispanic people, Latino people, all immigrants have benefited from the Equal Protection Law. Poor people have benefited from the Equal Protection Law. Sick people have benefited from the Equal Protection Law. Gay people have benefited from the Equal Protection Law of the 14th Amendment. It's a baby. It's the baby. You need to know this. You need to know this. You need to know this amendment. It's the 14th Amendment. You're going to have to look at what an amendment is. You're going to have to look at what the Constitution is. You're going to have to see, well, if this is the 14th Amendment, that means that the Constitution, since amendment comes from the word amend, which means to change, the Constitution must have changed 13 times before the 14th Amendment. Since we have 27, it changed 13 more times. We have 27 amendments. You don't even know what the Constitution is yet, but you know what the 14th Amendment is now. Part 1, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. It sets up citizenship. You're a dual citizen. If you're born here, or if you're naturalized here, within the jurisdiction of here, you are a citizen twice. The United States of America, the state where you live, where you have your driver's license. 2, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Boom. Takes the Bill of Rights that protects you. This is falling down again, isn't it? That protects you from the federal government in Washington, D.C., all 10 amendments, and it goes cut and paste 50 times into all 50 states. The Bill of Rights says that the federal government can't take away your citizenship rights, privileges, and immunities, and the 14th says that the states can't do it either. Third part deals with persons. That's pivotal. You need to know it because it's a basic human right. It's the biggest, due process. Due process. When the cops come and get you, they have to treat you fair. Justice. Due process is justice. It's justice in the classroom. It's justice on the street. It's justice with the police department. It's justice. And every person is afforded justice by the state government. Any state government, every state government. And the final part applies again to persons. Every single person that comes on to the playing field in any state is afforded equal protection of the laws. You cannot pick and choose. You cannot pick and choose who you are going to protect. The laws of the state apply to all. Sometimes these things, it doesn't work. Sometimes we've got to take things through the courts to make it right. Sometimes you have to have a civil rights movement, a non-violent civil rights movement to press the issue and make it real, because just on paper, it doesn't matter. You might have the 13th Amendment and slavery is over. Then you have the 14th Amendment that says you have to treat blacks equally and they have to be citizens. But then Jim Crow comes and throws it all on its head. And then you have this 100 years after this thing. After this 14th Amendment is written, it takes 100 years for the civil rights movement to make it real. For Brown v. Board and Montgomery and Selma and Birmingham. This thing matters. Due process, equal protection from the state. These are basic human rights. Basic human rights. The 14th Amendment to the Constitution, ratified in 1868, ensures that the state must treat all people with fairness and justice. It holds dear all your citizenship rights, and it prevents the state from taking them away. It takes the 14th, takes the first 10, and it goes boom. Now, Alaska, you are at the same place that Washington, D.C. is. Michigan, you're at the same place that Washington, D.C. is. And then it tosses those little persons in due process, persons in equal protection, just to put a cherry on top of the sundae. So there you go. That is my first Let Freedom Ring swivel video in my house with my big scary face behind me. Let's see how this goes. Let's know this amendment. Let's know it well, because it's going to be a vital amendment. It's going to protect you throughout your life, your children throughout their lives, your mom and dad throughout their lives. You need to know this amendment, and it bases our study. This is base of our study in this government course. Hallelujah. Cool. See ya.